In Edo period Japan, the Yamashiro clan mines gold in secret and sends a shipment to the Toyotomi Shogun of the Dark as payment for his protection. The Shogun of the Dark intends to use the gold to buy advanced Spanish weaponry and overthrow the current government, the Tokugawa Shogunate. The ship runs aground onto Mochizuki territory in a storm, and the 8 Devils of Kimon, a ninja team with supernatural powers, kill the people of the nearby village of Shimoda to keep the gold shipment a secret. While investigating the deaths, a Mochizuki Koga ninja team is massacred by the devils. The only survivor was a kunoichi named Kagero, who gets kidnapped by one of the devils so he could have his way with her. No, I'm not joking, that actually happens. Anyway, she was saved by a mercenary named Jubei Kibagami, who is also a former member of the Yamashiro clan. After going their separate ways, Jubei meets a Tokugawa spy named Dakuan, who basically blackmails him into killing the other devils. To make sure Jubei complies, Dakuan poisons him and offers an antidote if he takes out the other devils. During a battle with one of the devils, Kagero returns and saves Jubei, and she decides to join him and Dakuan on their quest to defeat the other devils and put an end to the schemes of the Shogun of the Dark. Ninja Scroll is often considered to be an influential film when it comes to anime release outside of Japan, and while it wasn't quite as well known as Akira or Ghost in the Shell, it was still highly praised by critics and has its own cult following. Much like how I feel about Akira, I don't consider Ninja Scroll to be a full-blown masterpiece, but at the same time, I also don't think it's a steaming pile of crap. The story is straightforward. It's basically about Jubei and the others overcoming the devils and stopping the Shogun from overthrowing the government. The film moves at a super fast pace, and overall I can classify it as mindless, dumb fun. The same can be said for the characters. Due to how fast the pacing is, we don't get to learn a lot about them besides the basics. The only exception would be the main protagonist, Jubei, who is by far my favorite character. He is a wandering swordsman with a dark past that revolves around his hatred for the former leader of the Yamashiro clan, named Gemma, who turns out to be one of the main villains. Jubei also appears to be very cynical of others and has a strong sense of right and wrong. While he doesn't have any supernatural powers like the enemies he faces, he does wield a sword that can create powerful winds. He is a homage to the historical swordsman Yagyu Jubei Mitsuyoshi. Everyone else is pretty hit or miss to me. Kagero is a food taster for the Mochizuki clan's chamberlain, and is the only kunoichi in the clan's ninja team. She is basically poison ivy if she were to have lived in feudal Japan. Her skin is infused with toxins, possibly from consuming a lot of poison food, thus making her immune to poison. If one were to make love to her, they would get poisoned and die. Hilariously enough, this becomes a key to solving Jubei's own poison problem, as if she were to make love to him, her poison would negate his poison and thus cure him. This is obviously a ploy to get them together and fuck. After all, this is classified as an adult film. Dakuan is an old shady spy who forces Jubei to work for him and can camouflage himself. That's basically all I can say about him. And the Devils of Kimon are your typical evil villains, with the only thing that makes them stand out are the special powers that they possess. Overall, Ninja Scroll's narrative isn't too special. It's there, it serves its purpose, not much else to say. The presentation is definitely the best part of the film. It's very detailed and violent, with character designs that tend to look very bizarre and creepy. Of course, none of it would be possible if it weren't for Studio Madhouse, who are responsible for animating many popular anime. Trigun, Death Note, Black Lagoon, the 2011 Hunter x Hunter series, One Punch Man, just to name a few. Now, considering the adult nature of the film, there are quite a bit of scenes that are filled with sex and gore, as well as some rather disturbing imagery. One of the devils, for example, has a hornet's nest growing in his back, which is kinda gross. But probably the most famous moment of the film revolves around the snake devil Benesato, who literally had a snake coming right out of her vagina. You don't see it, you only see her ass, but it's heavily implied. Yeah. I think it's safe to say if this stuff makes you feel uncomfortable, then I do not recommend this film. That being said, I wasn't too bugged out by the imagery. There are stuff here and there that caught me off guard, but I thought the action in general was pretty cool, especially since Jubei has to rely solely on his skills with a blade to overcome each of the devils, who get tougher and tougher as the film goes on. Overall, this was an excellent job by Studio Madhouse. The soundtrack is great. It fits with the setting of the film, and the ending song was pretty well composed. I definitely recommend listening to it. The Japanese version has some significant seiyus. Koichi Yamadera voices Jubei, and he would go on to voice Spike Spiegel in Cowboy Bebop. Kind of fitting considering that both characters would ultimately come face to face with their past demons at the end of their respective stories. We also have Toshihiko Seki as Yurimaru, Emi Shinohara as Kagero, and Norio Wakamoto as Mujiro. The dub was pretty but it does have a few noticeable names such as Wendy Lee and Kirk Thornton. I don't know what to say about this film. The plot is rather thin, the characters aren't really remarkable, but it did have some amazing visuals and music. Unfortunately, that isn't enough for me to consider this a masterpiece. Is it a bad movie? No. Is it worth viewing? Well, yeah. I think it's worth a watch at least once in your life, mainly for all the bizarre shit that's in it. I will admit, when I first watched this film with some friends, I was a total snob. I thought it was a stupid movie. But now I can at least appreciate the movie for what it did for the popularity of anime in the West. Just a word of advice though, don't let your kids watch it. Final score, 5.5 out of 10.